Hello, everybody. Ron Story Jr. here with another episode of America's Financial Mavericks podcast. And today I have a great guest, Dawn Santeriello. I'm sure she's going to correct me in a few moments. But she is the founder and CEO of DS Financial Strategies in Yardley, Pennsylvania. Dawn has an interesting practice because she takes a holistic approach to financial planning and to her entire life. And today we want her to share her unique perspective on financial advice and the audience that she likes to work with the most. Dawn, how's it going?
It's great. And you got it right. So that's good. Santoriello.
Okay. All right. I know sometimes it sounds like I'm talking with rocks in my mouth. So I want to make sure that I get people's names right. So tell us a little bit about DS Financial Strategies.
Okay. Well, DS Financial Strategies is a financial planning company. I myself have been in the field for almost 13 years now. And it's about 2.5 years now that I opened up my own practice. So it's been going well. I love helping people. And what really makes me unique is that, like you said, I take a holistic approach. So what does that mean? That means I don't just take your money and go put it in these investment funds, and that's all I do. I look at you as an individual or as a company and find out what your goals are, what your concerns are, and how could I get you to what you want to do in the fastest, most efficient manner possible. And also, I'm a fiduciary. That's another big term out there. A lot of people, if you work for a broker-dealer like the big wirehouses, you're not a fiduciary because your primary concern is the company. Where I have a legal obligation to my clients, I have to put their best interests ahead of my own. And that's what you get when you work with an RIA. So I'm what they call an RIA is a registered investment advisory firm. I'm an IAR, which is an investment advisor representative who works under the RIA, just in case people are wondering out there. I know all these acronyms and everything's always confusing to the public. So like when you have a meeting with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just like we're doing right now, I'm going to have a conversation with you, find out, well, what's important to you. Obviously, I'm going to have to gather all your financial information. And then I'm going to give you what we use, a Noble Winning Prize risk tolerance test, which, again, it's all about you. Because maybe you're 25 and I'm like, oh, you should be aggressive. No. Who the hell cares what I think? It's what you feel and are comfortable with. And that's why this won a Nobel Prize. It basically is going to measure your emotional risk tolerance. And it doesn't matter what your age or anything. It's based on your answers. So that's why I love that. Again, right from the get-go, I'm right with the clients with what they're comfortable with, not what I think they should be or what all the financial experts say. It's what they feel. So I use that. And we also use non-correlating assets because everybody thinks, oh, to work with a financial planner, all it is the stock market. Well, no. And if you only do the stock market, you're not going to be successful because as you see now, anybody could do well. You just throw a freaking dart and you're going to do well because the market's up. So you want to have a full picture because it's not just about, it's about what if you want to buy a home? You're not going to be invested in the market right now if you're about to buy a home in a year or two. And just different strategies. So for people at different ages and different stages of the game, there's different ideas we can put in place. Like, for example, business owners. What do? They spend most of their time working on their business, getting it going. And then it's like, oh, you know what? I want to retire in about 5 years. And like, oh, shoot, what do I do now? And it's like, okay, well, that's going to be a lot different than working with someone who's 25 and they want to buy their first home. And there are advanced planning techniques that we use to, like called leveraged financing strategies. And that help that business owner actually get the money they need because they didn't save it because they were putting it back in their business. But there's a way to get that money that they should have saved and help it fund their retirement. So there's just so many different strategies. I could be here like for 2 days solid, but I don't want to bore everybody.
So what's the ideal client for you?
The ideal client for me is I love helping people, but sometimes I can't help everybody because if people aren't ready for help, there's nothing I could say to them that is going to get them to work with me. So I want to work with people who are nice people, they're serious about their money, and they want to work with a professional. I enjoy working with business owners as well. They're like kind of like my favorite because they have so many problems that you could help solve, whether it be working on their retirement plans, showing them that it's not just about throwing money in a 401k plan. Because, again, I'm all about what money you get to keep. I don't care what you make, it's what you get to keep. And if you're throwing all your money in retirement plans, you're going to be pretty sad when it comes to take that money out, and because all your money is going to go back to the government. Well, not all of it, but a good portion of it. And there's ways that we can mitigate those risks.
So when you talk about holistic financial planning, can you walk me through what that starts with? Is that budgeting and then insurance, and how does that work? What is holistic financial planning?
Well, yeah, it's first looking at everything you're doing. We're going to look at your budget, look at your cash flow. Before you even meet with me, I send you a cash flow analysis to see, okay, where's the money going? Because most people have no idea. They just paying bills. So we get that down. Then I'm going to give you a fact finder. I want to know about your mortgages. I want to know about what investments you have, emergency funds, any insurances that you have, programs that you have at work. And then I want to know, what do you want to do? Like, what is the purpose of money in your life? Like, do you want it to leave a legacy for your children? Do you want it to, like, not have to worry about money? Do you want to retire early? Because then once I know what your goals are, I could set up a strategy, because everybody is unique. I'm not just going to throw you all, like, in mutual funds. And getting on that topic, I don't really, well, maybe we'll get to that later, why I don't really like mutual funds. And then also another thing I incorporated into, like, the holistic thing is I found this out personally. Like, everything I tell my clients to do, I'm doing, because I can't be a hypocrite. So if I'm telling them something, you better believe I'm doing it, because I believe in what I do, and I'm here to save the world. I know it's still kind of corny, but hey, that's who I am. So what I also found too is you have to have your mind, your body, everything has to be right. Because your whole goal in life, it can't be just to make money. If you're just going to make money, like, you're, like, not fulfilled, and money is not going to, yeah, it helps and it makes your life more enjoyable. But if that's your sole focus in life, you're going to be pretty miserable. So what I do, I start off by having, like, a clean body. And what I mean by that is I started another program with a partner, and it's all about the proper nutrition and detoxification that you put your body in. Because once you got that, all that noise in your head is cleared, and you're more focused. You're able to focus on what you want to accomplish in life, your financial goals, and it's easier to achieve it. If people are so stuck in their ways and they just, like, head spinning and they don't know what's happening, they're living paycheck to paycheck, that's a lot of stress. So once you alleviate that stress, you're calmer and more ideas flow to you, and now we can put a plan. So, because again, I care about you as a person. If I get you all this money and then you drop dead the day you retire, what good did I do? I didn't really do anything. So I'm, again, looking at, I know it's kind of a unique approach. Nobody would think that goes with it, but it's all related. Health, mind, body, finances.
No, I think that's interesting, because a lot of times, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I want to clarify to make sure I understand. A lot of financial advisors, in my experience, have been money managers or asset gatherers, right? But it seems like you're talking about how, hey, what's the engine behind the money that you're going to get, that you're going to end up having me manage? How did you get it? How do you increase it? Through increasing your income, through growing your business, through maybe selling your business for retirement. And then that pool of money, I'll help you to manage that as your registered investment advisor. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's all about what goes into the money, the thought process behind it, and right, how you gathered it and what's important to you. Because you're not just going to go throw your money and invest it, because, it's, yeah, you might do good, you might do well, but you have to have the whole strategy, and you have to have a plan in place. Just putting your money in the market, you're not going to do well, because what if the market's crashing? I have stuff that I put people in non-correlating assets that it doesn't matter what the hell is happening in the market, because you're still going to make money. So that's what you want to have, a whole diversified bucket and a portfolio. It's not just about investing in the stock market.
When you say non-correlating assets, what does that mean?
Well, one of them means that, for example, life insurance. So life insurance, if it's structured properly, which that could be a whole discussion in itself. I don't know if you want me to touch on that briefly. Basically, how I view life insurance is I view it as, like, your savings vehicle, your safe tank. You're not going to kill it. You're not going to earn, like, 20%. That's not going to happen. But anywhere from 4 to 6% long term, and it's a long-term saving strategy that you're going to build up, and that comes out tax-free if you structure it properly, grows tax-deferred, could help fund college, help fund retirement. So basically, you're killing, like, 3 birds with one stone. It covers, like, long-term care if you have that, kids' college, and retirement with $1. So that's what I mean when I talked about earlier about maximizing the efficiency of your money. And along with, so that's like the base bucket. And then you want to, like, once you have some money to play with, you'll put some into the market. But I teach you all the ins and outs of why you don't want to always overfund your 401k. Because what happens, people overfund their 401k, they're all taught to do that, and then they go to retire. All their money's in that tank, that 401k tank. So now they got to pull it out. Some people are surprised that they got to pay taxes, but you do. And the government loves it, because basically they're going to get all that tax money. And so here, actually, let me explain how, like, 401k. Can I explain how 401ks work?
Sure, go ahead.
So let's say basically I was like, Ron, you come to me and you need to borrow some money. So you need $10,000. So I'm like, you know what, Ron, I'm pretty good. Here, I'll write you a check for $10,000. Here you go. What are the two things you're going to ask me before you cash that check?
Is this real?
Count.
And then the second thing is, how much of it is really mine? Because I probably got to pay some taxes on it, right?
Well, first the two questions you will ask, you're jumping ahead. So you're very educated on this matter. Most people, they say, well, okay, well, it's a loan, so when do I have to pay this back and at what interest rate? So I'm like, you know what? Things are good. I don't need any money now, but I know sometime in the future, I don't know when, I'm going to need the money. And then at that time, I'm going to calculate how much interest I need from you. Would you cash that check?
No.
Exactly. But now think about it. That's what the government is doing with the 401k plans. Because who knows what tax bracket you're going to be in and any of that. And so you're going to have all these taxes later, but they're not telling you how much. So that's why I like to have non-correlated assets and have everything structured properly so that way we can maximize our tax efficiency and so we get to keep more of our hard-earned money. And again, that's why it's not a one-size-fits-all because it depends on the person and their goals. Someone who maybe doesn't have a tax problem, maybe they're it might be a good idea to max fund their retirement, but it all depends and it comes down to what their circumstances are.
What was the one thing you wish someone would have told you before you got into being a registered investment advisor when you were when you were just a consumer?
Well, one thing is all I knew is when I thought about that, it's like, oh, just put money in the stock market. I had no idea. I didn't even know how life insurance worked. I was an agent for a life insurance company, and they told me, buy term. So I was like, okay, I'll buy term. And then years later, like 5 years later, I went to another wealth planning company, and they said, well, no, do this because you could build it up. And it's like a savings vehicle for your future. And I was like, damn, why did I get term? So it's like no one's really teaching you this stuff. So I wish there was like education, like maybe even in high school. Like I don't even know if they teach you how to like balance a checkbook. My mom taught me how to balance a checkbook and do all that stuff. But no one ever talked about life insurance. It was taboo. It's like, no, that's only for when you die. And it's funny, even my dad, to this day, he's 89 years old, he still doesn't believe in life insurance. He's still like, oh, it's for when you die. And, you know, you can't change someone when they're 89 years old. But there's a lot of people out there that have that perception. And it's like, I want people to know that, no, there's other ways and uses for life insurance. And it could be a lifesaver while you are alive and help you get to your goals. Because if you depend on the market, like look what happened in 2008. The market crashes. People were about to retire. Their 401ks become 201ks. They're screwed. They had to stay working. And we're here. If you have a combination of both, you can have that freedom. Because, again, it's all about income streams when you do retire and just making sure you get to keep the most of your money.
Gotcha. So what do you work with individuals? You talked about business owners. What if somebody wants to retire before 60 or 59?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can work with them. Again, take them through the same process, sit down, find out what their emotional risk tolerance is, see what they have currently, what they're doing, find extra ways they could increase their income, get the most out of their investments, find out what kind of income are they going to need, and also project that out too, because the money you're going to need today, you're going to need a lot more later, because of inflation. So we look at that and show them some different ways they could save more efficiently.
Can you give me an example of how you helped a client, change from one thought to another, and where they maybe didn't believe that they could be financially successful, but then after meeting with you, you were able to turn that into a success story? Don't use their name. You can change their name to Bob.
Okay.
But
okay. So I met the wife, let's call her Sally, in actually a tire store. I'm sitting there waiting to get my tires changed. And she said, oh, can you help us? Because we've been to like a big wirehouse and they won't look at us because we don't have $250,000. I'm like, sure. I'm like, I take a whole different approach. So her and her husband, let's call him Bob, Sally and Bob. So they came into my office and I sat down with them, looked at everything they were doing. And the way they were going, they were following America's advice. Overfund your retirement plan at work. Have a little 529 plan. Okay, you're going to be great in retirement. And, well, it wasn't going to be so great. So what I did, because I showed them, okay, here, I gave them $20,000 extra for 4 years for college. That was tax-free, and it was protected from the FAFSA form, so they could actually get more aid because they don't need to know this on the FAFSA form. So not only did that, and then they had $25,000 of extra tax-free income in retirement. And here's the biggest thing. All this was done without them spending a dime more than they currently were.
Wow.
So it was just rearranging what they're doing without them spending any more money. And that's amazing. And I love when I get people to like just see the light and they're like, wow, this really, I never knew I could do this. When someone was like, I'm not going to look at you because you don't have $250,000 to invest. So it's like I really can have an impact on everyone if they are willing to be open-minded and just see what I have to say. Now, they didn't agree on everything. Like, they had a 15-year mortgage, and I said it would be better to do the 30-year mortgage because, again, you're getting better tax deductions with a 30-year, and you're more in control of your money. But still, so I'm able to help people. But, again, everyone's on their level of comfort, so I do the best I can with what they're comfortable with.
So it seems that you do non-traditional, like a lot of times there are like, hey, I should do this. I've heard that everybody's telling me I should overfund my 401k or put everything in and do this or get a Roth IRA. Even though those may not be bad strategies, you try to find the unique way that I could leverage, if I were your client, that I could leverage my circumstances. Maybe a 401k is good, but maybe doing a 401k and something else that you know about may be better if I just kind of balance it out a little bit instead of going, gung-ho on one thing. I should talk to somebody like you to have you totally look at me and build something for me instead of me just taking the advice that my uncle gave me because that worked for him and his family. Yeah,
exactly. And because your finances, it's like a Rubik's Cube. You going to buy a car is going to affect your whole financial picture. You overfunding your 401k is going to affect everything. And so we got to lay all those pieces of everything you're doing. And most people are like, why am I going to go to a financial planner about buying a car? Well, because that money you're spending, that's the time and compound interest on that money. If there was a better way to buy that car, you're missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost interest. So again, so everything is interrelated. So I always say it's great to work with a planner, especially someone who is holistic and a fiduciary, because again, you don't want just someone pushing you their products. You want someone who's looking out for you and your interests. So exactly.
How emotional are financial planning conversations?
Well, it could get kind of very emotional. Depends on the person. Like here's a story I had where sometimes like you get like the clients, they just don't get it, but they trust you enough because they know you're looking out for them. Like for example, I had this woman, she needed $10,000 an emergency had happened, and she's like, oh, you got to take it out of my IRA. And she was like 45. I'm like, well, we have another option. If you take it all out of your IRA, we're going to be hit with penalties and taxes. I'm like, do you remember that non-correlating asset we have here? We took $6,000 out of there and only needed about $4,000 from the IRA. I'm like, look, we just saved you on interest, penalties, and taxes. She's like, oh my God, I forgot. I'm like, yeah, that's why we have this account. She's like, it's not making any money. And I'm like, well, it's there when you need it, and 4 to 6%, that's pretty decent. So again, it's kind of also just like managing their expectations too. But she was like, wow, thanks. And I'm like, that's why you work with me. Because sometimes you got to have hard conversations with your clients. And some clients want me to do things that are not right. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that for you. Like they'll tell me, I read this, I want this annuity, this variable annuity. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to sell that to you. One, I'm not licensed. I used to be. But because of all the high fees and internal costs, they're not right for clients. There's other ways that are cheaper that you could get them. And I'm like, or they'll just tell me I want to do this, and I'm like, no, that's not the right thing to do. I'm like, if you want, go down the street. But I, as my fiduciary, I'm not going to do something that's going to hurt you just because you want me to do it. And just, no, I don't work, what do they call, commission breath. I'm all about helping.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I think that's the right approach. And so if you had to, in one sentence, define your ideal client, who would they be?
Okay, my ideal client, I think I said this before, is someone who is a nice person to work with, responsible, and serious about growing their future and wants to work with an advisor. Like I tell people, I don't care how much money you have, if you're a jerk, I'm not going to work with you. Because I want to work with people like myself because I'm their go-to person. I'm their quarterback, so they're calling me. And if I don't want to talk to you, that's not going to be a good relationship, So I want to work with people that I like and who we each appreciate and have a respect for each other.
So when it comes to your personal planning, do you have a family also?
No, I'm single.
Okay. All right. No.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting because a lot of times people who are single, they have a different approach. They have different needs than a person who has a family with 3 kids. right?
Yes.
What's
Exactly.
what's some advice that you could give to someone who's single? Because I'll give you an example for me. I'm a single guy who has several $1,000,000 of life insurance. No kids, but everybody thinks I'm crazy, right? But someone told me why I should do that, and I understood it, right? So what's some advice that you could give to single people, right, about financial advice that may be a little bit different than the advice that you would give to a person with a family?
Okay. Well, one, you're not crazy. You're actually very incredibly smart. So that's the one thing I
Thank
would
you.
recommend too, is having it in the right order, like overfund it. But we can get into that. Another piece of advice is, especially as a single business owner, you have to do it all. So you have to make sure, what I always say is save 20% of all your money you get just to go pay for taxes. Now, someone who just gets a paycheck, okay, that's fine. But then you also need an extra emergency fund, because if something happens, you don't have a spouse or someone there to cover the hard times. Again, it's all you. And what if you get sick? But you want to have some things in place. I have a life insurance that has long-term care issues on. I get a lump sum, something happens. So I'm basically protected. I could get sick, have cancer, and not have to worry. Well, at least financially. Yeah, like that's a whole emotional other issue. But yeah, so you have to save your money. You can't just go and blow it because like, there's no one else there. And also another thing that I have in place too, I have a will, I have a power of attorney. Because again, even though we're single, it's good to have these things, because most people, what if you become incapacitated? Who's going to know your wishes? So having that all set up as well. Luckily, we don't have to worry about kids in college. So that's a huge savings. We're already ahead of the game. But also, we have to look at different ways, because again, if we just throw all our money into the 401k plan, into mutual funds, we need to still diversify. And
How do you feel about people who say, well, I'm not going to invest in the 401k. I'm going to invest in businesses and real estate. What's the approach if you meet with someone like that? Do they need to meet with a financial advisor if they're buying real estate and businesses?
Yeah, that is also a good thing to do, because you'll probably if you're really good at what you do, you could probably get a better return in your real estate or your business than you would in your 401k. Because what are you going to get on a good year? Maybe you get 20% on a good year, 25%. But I have like a real estate investment. I have an income property. I'm killing it. Like I'm getting $1,600 a month in rent, and I profit about $800 to $1,000 a month. So I'm not going to get that in a 401k. So there are some good things to do. And in a business too, there's ways. And with you definitely, when you want to do a business, you need a financial planner, because there's ways you could put into place to help leverage it down the road. And when you need to buy equipment, there's a way to do it instead of using cash. Because most people say, okay, I'm just going to go pay cash. But when you pay cash for something, what happens? You drain your bank account. So you got nothing. You're back to zero. So if you have a non-correlating asset where you're still, even though you're using the money, you're still as if you never took it out, and it's still in there earning you interest. So there's different ways. So it's very important, no matter what stage of the game you're at, to work with someone.
No, I think that's interesting. A lot of times, a lot of financial advisors, they don't do anything outside of the products that they work with. So it's interesting to hear that you do have income properties and other things like that, because a lot of advisors, they just have their financial planning business, and their money is usually in whatever they're advising their clients to do, instead of other types of external investments. I think that's pretty unique and very powerful.
I also have another passive income stream too. Like I said, my nutrition business, I work with one of the best coaches in the industry. He's Simon & Schuster, the best-selling author. And that's brings me in like about $1,000 a month to start, and that just keeps growing. And that's another way people could help grow and have a retirement income, because there's people who, they're living on Social Security and they're not going to make it. So there's this guy I know, he was 74 years old, a butcher his whole life, made maybe $400,000 over those 40 years. He is a millionaire now, because again, hard work, determination, and everything you could have, it's all about the mindset. So that's even when people with their finances. I have one guy, oh gosh, I love him to death. He is just like the most negative person. If anything goes wrong, it happens to him, and he says it. And I'm like, listen, let's call him Jeff. Jeff, you got to change that mindset. I'm like, you're causing your own stuff, and it's just like hysterical. So it's like kind of like a good, and I coach him, and I try to get him to be where he needs to be. That's another thing about Uminique too. I'm a very spiritual and holistic person, so I'll coach people. Like I don't do it like my serious business people, because some people, again, they're looking for that hardcore just give me the numbers, no nonsense, and I'm that person too. But then I see people who are maybe open and want some other coaching advice, so I help them coach them that way. Because again, it's all about your whole life. It's not just about money. If you just want to focus just on money, then you could go find that anywhere down the street. But with me, you're getting quality. You're getting someone who cares about you, is passionate about helping people, and passionate, and I know a ton of information about my stuff. And what's good about me too is if you come to me and ask me something and I don't know, I'm gonna say I don't know, but you know what? I know the right people. I have my team behind me, and I'm gonna get you the answer. I'm not gonna do what they tell you. Oh, you know what? I'm not so sure, but let me go look at that. No, I just flat out say it like it is.
No, that's pretty good. So to sum it up, this is what I've taken from our conversation over the last 25 minutes or so. One, you take a holistic approach, not just in your own life, but in the lives of your clients. You want to look at everything from their emotional health all the way to their financial health, right? And how they interwork together, whether it's life insurance or investments. You want to make sure that it all works together, right? And you're not just talking about it, you're actually living it, because in your life, you have businesses, you have real estate, and you have your financial advice business. So that's a holistic financial approach. And I'm sure you have some insurance and stuff that protects those things around there.
Exactly.
So you're not just paper assets, you have real assets, and you have those assets protected with some insurances, right?
Correct.
So, and you do it from an honest perspective.
Correct.
Right? So you tell people like it is, and if they don't like it, and if they don't match what you think a client should do, if it isn't a good fit, you're willing to take the loss and say, hey, I'm not the right fit for you. Exactly. Versus taking them on as a client and then taking the money, but it not working out in the long term because you may have given them, they may have wanted to do a strategy you didn't totally believe in yourself for being right for them. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of sum up everything to make sure that I had a right understanding of your approach, because I think sometimes people, they do meet with an advisor, and since that's the only advisor that will talk to them, that's the one that they go with, in which they don't have to. You should find somebody, at least according to you, you should find somebody that you fit with.
Exactly.
Right?
You're going to be in their life for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So you want a good relationship. And then also, I just want to also cover too, because I don't think I touched on this, is when it does come down to the investing, the reason I don't use mutual funds is that there's a lot of hidden fees in there. And unless you read the prospectus, you're not going to know about. I'm all about fully wrapped, fully disclosed fee accounts, because with me, you're paying one fee. There's no hidden transaction costs. There's no trading costs. It's all wrapped into one. And I use different stock portfolios, which I have a money manager for that. And we have dynamic allocations. So when things are trending downward, we can move you to more conservative funds. You're not stuck in a mutual fund where it's like they have to follow a certain mandate. And then when everyone gets out, you're kind of screwed because you're going to get hit with all those capital gains. So again, I take a holistic approach in looking at your finances. I map out what you're currently doing and show you, okay, do you have overlap? Because people think mutual funds, I'm diversified. You might own the same stocks in your thing, not really diversified at all. So there's different strategies when you invest. You want to have not everything go up at once and everything go down. So again, part of the holistic for the investment. I wasn't sure if I touched on that enough.
No, that makes sense. I think I think that's what you were talking about with the award-winning program that you have. You said there was an award-winning strategy that you would use that helps them to decide what's best for them and what the allocation should be. Mm-hmm. Was that correct, or did I?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So, any closing thoughts? If you had to give one piece of advice that was generic for everybody, what would that one piece of advice be?
Okay. Have an open mind and do not let fear hold you back, because what you don't know right now could be the most important thing that's going to totally change your life and propel you to anything you want to have in your life. So yeah, and I know I am the most stubborn person it is when it comes to things. So I've learned the hard way. I'm like, damn, why didn't I do this? And like, people were trying to tell me, but I can't hear them. So when you're closed-minded, you can't hear things. So be open-minded and listen. Doesn't mean you have to go do it, but just be open-minded. Don't just close yourself out, because you could be missing out on something really great that could change your life.
I think that that's good advice. Where can they find you, Don, outside of dsfinancialstrategies.com?
They could call me on my phone, which is 215-660-0288. They could also email me, dawn@dsfinancialstrategies.com. I have a Facebook page, DS Financial Strategies, and I also host my own TV show called Conquer Your Finances, Conquer Your Life, every Fridays at 11 a.m. on rvntv.tv. And I also have a Facebook page for that, Conquer Your Finances, Conquer Your Life. And also, if you want to go to my website, and I'll do a free, I'll find out what your free risk number is and do a portfolio review for you. Just go on my website and click the button, free risk score, and I'd be happy to do that for you.
Well, hey, Don, thanks again. I appreciate you having the conversation with us today. And hey, everybody, go and check Don's website out and at least watch her television show. I watched a couple of episodes and I thought it was very good. She has a lot of energy. She is very passionate about what she does. And for somebody, it's the right fit. And for other people, like she said, go find somebody else if you don't like me, which is good. I think that that's a good approach. So thanks again, Don.
All right. Thank you for having me. It was great.